Hey guys, this is DFS Chan. Good morning. I'm here to talk about today's EPL three-game main slate. They all start at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and it's a three-game slate because the Chelsea-Arsenal game got postponed. So yeah, let's dive in. And this is the kind of slate that I love because there's not a huge favorite. Three close games, all really crappy teams in my opinion. In the middle of the standings or toward the bottom of the standings. So I do think there's a lot of edge to be gained by just looking into the narratives and the high floor guys, in my opinion, because we're not going to have a game that will blow up 3-4-0, I think, given the lack of favorites, heavy favorites rather. So yeah, let's dive in. I'll share my prediction of the outcome of the matchup and also the favorite plays for each matchup. So Brentford versus Crystal Palace. Brentford is a slight favorite, basically a toss-up. Brentford's at home, but Brentford has been struggling and been in bad form. And Crystal Palace hasn't been in great form either, but Brentford just has been on a skid for a while. So let's dive into the Brentford's roster real quick. Brentford, he's not pictured here, but Jensen, if he scores, I have my notes here. Jensen, if he does start, rather, I would love to have him in my lineup because he takes a lot of, the set pieces, and he's cheap for DK pricing. So I would definitely prioritize him if he does end up starting. But I'm not really too interested in this Brentford side other than him. Maybe for GPP, I mean, you can go Mbuemo and Serge Canos. And then maybe Rico Henry and Janelt. But those are probably the only options that I will consider because I do think, just based on the game prediction, I do think Crystal Palace will dominate, in my opinion. Last game, they got unlucky with Zaha's missed PK, penalty kick that he missed badly. They should have won that game, and I feel like I've watched them. I watched them most of that game. I watched most of that game, and they look pretty good. And I do think they will dominate possession today against Brentford. So Crystal Palace, who do I like from there? I do think there will be a lot of crossing opportunities for Zaha and Olise. So Zaha and Olise, I would definitely prioritize them. And then Conor Gallagher is the not a question mark, but he has such a high upside, and he was in such great form early in the season. But now that his set piece shares has been taken away, I don't know if I like him as much. I do think he's a little too expensive for my taste. So that's why I prefer Olise and Zaha. But then Gallagher would be a fantastic GPP play, I think. Like I said, Crystal Palace, I think, will dominate the possession here today and create a lot of crossing opportunities. So I'm looking for crossers like Olise, Zaha, and Gallagher. And then maybe Will Hughes if he does end up starting, because sometimes he takes set pieces. So I definitely like Crystal Palace pieces today. Everton versus Leeds United. I think I have this matchup as both teams to score. That's my favorite bet. So I do love both sides for DFS purposes for them to produce. So let's dive into Everton because they're the slight favorite at home. They're plus favorite at home because in soccer there's a draw option. So anyway, Everton is a slight favorite, like I said. It all starts with Gray, but Gray is actually injured. He got subbed out early last game. So it actually, I don't know what that means in terms of like set pieces. I do think if Townsend starts again on the wingback side, I mean, Townsend could totally take all the set pieces there. It is a possibility that Coleman or Gordon could jump into that, but I think Townsend is a very interesting option today if he ends up starting. And then Richarlison, obviously, for the goal share. He has been, pretty good form as well. But so Townsend, he's not pictured here, but Townsend, Richarlison, Gordon, and maybe Coleman are probably my top four guys for Everton. And then for GPP, if DCL ends up starting, Dominic Calvert-Lewin ends up starting, I mean, he would be a good, goal scoring option, but you'll be chasing goals because he has a low floor. And then Dele Alli, he came over from Tottenham, and he played a little bit last game, and I don't think he played very well. Yeah. So, but I think he's a GPP option since he lines up on the offensive side. And then on the other side of the matchup is Leeds United. It all starts with Rafinha. I think Rafinha's ownership is going to be through the roof. I think he's going to be like 90+% owned. He is the best player on the slate. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates in terms of leverage. I think for cash games, you cannot avoid him because he has the monopoly of set pieces, and he's a great play in the open play. And he's the best player, I think, in all three matchups on the slate. So, and like I said, this matchup is projected to be a very high scoring matchup. I think both teams will score. So I definitely like Rafinha's chances to be involved in a goal at least. And then for GPP for Leeds, I think he's the only cash option. Maybe Stuart Dallas, but for GPP, I'd say starts with Stuart Dallas. And then for goal scoring opportunities, because for GPP, you're really chasing a goal scoring upside, right? So you could go with Jack Harrison or Daniel James. So those are probably the only three that I'll be interested in for GPP purposes. Watford versus Brighton. Now this matchup is going to be an interesting matchup. I don't really have a good lean on this one. I do think Brighton should win this matchup. And I think Watford has been in bad form, up and down form rather. I've seen them do well. I've seen them do really poorly. So I don't know. They're so inconsistent. I like the consistent teams much better for DFS purposes. So I like BHA. I do think Watford is a frustrating, side right now. So I like BHAs. I think Brighton will definitely dominate the possession over Watford, but Brighton consistently underperforms in terms of DFS and then the expected goal opportunities. Like they love to possess the ball, but then at the end they don't really get a shot on target. So it's kind of pointless and meaningless as to why they have the ball most of the time during the game if they don't translate that into a goal scoring opportunity, right? So, but in terms of DFS, I mean, if I think it's going to be a low scoring matchup, I would just go for high floor guys, right? So, which I think it will be a low scoring game projected. So for Brighton, I like Pascal Gross. It starts with him. I think he is underpriced on the slate, and then McAllister. So I would prioritize those two guys. And then I think it goes to Tariq Lamptey and then Mark Cucurella. They're fullbacks. Lamptey is an interesting option today for me. I think he's going to perform very well going in, on the right flank against the old Tom Cleverley. So that will be an interesting matchup, I think, for Lamptey. I think salivating matchup for Lamptey. And then for Watford on the other side of the matchup, I think it all starts with Emmanuel Dennis. And then, I think Kiko Femenia has been taking some set pieces as well. So I think Dennis and Femenia would be my top priorities for Watford if you are looking to stack Watford pieces. And then it goes to Kamara and then maybe Kuka and then King. So those are probably the GPP plays for Watford. But like I said, I think I'm going to focus a lot overall as a general overview of the slate, a general strategy and approach for the slate. I think I'm going to go a lot of Crystal Palace exposure. And then this game right here between Everton and Leeds, because both of their team defenses have been absolutely horrendous. So like really bad. So I think both teams will score in this matchup. And then I think this will be an interesting matchup that can break the slate between Watford and Brighton, but I don't really expect it to. But there are some good high floor pieces in this matchup, in my opinion. So Yeah, so I think it's a nice 3-game slate that can definitely is be viable for DFS purposes. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck, everybody.